All right. Hey, my name's Pat. I'm a localist. I love the 100 miles around where I live and work. I publish Tidbits Entertainment Weekly, and what I want to do is I want to use Southern Colorado Live to bring some exposure to the people and places that make Southern Colorado and Northern New Mexico really special and must-visit destinations. So today I invited a friend, Juan DelaRoca. He's my first guest. He's the owner of Backshop Bikes. He's it's a gravel grinder adventure tour company. He sits on the Trinidad State Junior College Trails Committee with me. He's been very good and active member there. And he's also, which is why we framed this thing up, he's also the co-creator with Stephen of the Trinidad Los Animas Gravel Adventure Field Guide. Good afternoon, Juan. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey there, Pat. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm looking forward to this. This is great.
Hey, I also value people's time, so I don't. I want to kind of just get to the meat of this, and that's not me. So what I want you to do is tell me a little bit about yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional background, and how did you end up in Trinidad?
So let's see. I've been a longtime Colorado resident. I first lived in Boulder, Denver area since the mid '90s. Came out like a lot of people pursuing, the active lifestyle. I was very much into snowboarding and mountain biking, and sort of found myself home when I got to Boulder and Colorado in general. But in 2015, I decided that it was time to leave the Denver area. I had been there since 2004. And I actually thought I was done with Colorado. Went down to Austin. I was spending quite a bit of time there, but I was also traveling a little bit in and out. And I actually ended up doing a road trip that brought me back to Colorado. I was going snowboarding in Silverton, and this was in the winter of 15-16. And came through Trinidad and, pulled off on the road and started looking around. And it just felt like there was something that was coming down the pike here. Interestingly enough, having spent some time in Texas, which also saw a large swell of population, I saw the same thing happening in Colorado along the Front Range. And so Trinidad suddenly didn't feel like it was a really far off place, even though it was a place that I thought I would never have ended up, to be quite honest. So I got here in 2016 and homeowner here and was trying to get a business going, Backshop Bikes. I saw that there was an opportunity to create some experiences in cycling here in this region. But at the same time, we had a lot of work that needed to be done in order to really bring that to life. So I've been spending quite a bit of time over the last several years building out I guess you could say, culture around cycling here. I mean, this is definitely not someplace that a lot of people thought of as a cycling destination, but when we look around and see what we have available, it's not really hard to see how it could be a cycling destination.
Yeah, that's we're not a drive-through. It's amazing. So, in your professional background, you have a sports background, correct?
Yeah, so I actually came out of the advertising industry. I did a lot of consumer research insights. My area specialty was and still is to a degree, is the Hispanic market. My parents being from Guatemala, I grew up speaking Spanish, so I was heavily involved in a lot of bilingual, bicultural work with the agency that I was working for a number of years. And then when I decided to go out on my own in 2006, I was focused in on that Hispanic space as well as action sports, and ended up writing a report about 10 years or so ago, looking at youth demographic changes in snow sports. And so it ended up leading to some stuff in the snowboard industry. I ran the Olympic snowboard program for Mexico for 4 years. Another one of those things I never thought I would have ever done, but it just ended up being something that, because I had put myself out there, the path kind of led me in that direction. So I ended up getting a master's in sports administration from Ohio University, which is a pretty well-known, actually it's considered the best program in the world. And I was lucky enough to get recruited for that program after I had done that report in the snowboard space. And so ended up doing that for a couple of years and met a lot of people in the sports industry and further contacts. So I've done quite a bit in the sports world, and it's probably my most favored work, if I could, go into any particular one. But so when Backshop Bikes came, I saw an opportunity to kind of combine that background of professional marketing and sports marketing, as well as experiences and tourism. So, yeah.
Well, so, which kind of brings us to one of the reasons I wanted us to hit this is the gravel field guide, gravel adventure field guys. I think it went to print today, right?
Yeah. It's really.
So it's going to hit the streets. So it's going to hit the streets here soon, and folks will want to do that. So, first of all, what is gravel grinding? Because not you don't see that everywhere. And what can it do for our region? What can it do for our area?
So gravel is definitely the newest genre of the cycling industry, and it's funny because the cycling world's always been really good about creating new categories to get us to buy new bikes or new products in those categories and whatnot. But it's essentially a genre of cycling that's been here the whole time, right? Like it's the idea that you can go in any direction, you can ride over any terrain. So it's really focused on this idea of mixed terrain. So you might be on dirt, you might be on pavement, you might be on something smooth, you might be on something extremely rough, or nothing even at all. Like there's still even grass growing through. So it started really gaining, I would say, some momentum around 2010, 2012, and 2006 was the first year that they held the Dirty Kanza, which is now called Unbound, which is an event that started in Emporia, Kansas. And it has grown to be the premier event in the world. So it really showed that gravel had some stickiness to it, and that it had the opportunity to impact a local community. So when I got here in 2017, I had actually managed to get Luis Benitez, who at the time was the director of Outdoor Rec Industry Office, and we did a presentation here in Trinidad that outlined some ideas around how outdoor rec could be grown as an industry in the community. And one of the slides that I had put on there was gravel, because at the time I already saw that it was, the fastest growing category in cycling. And when I got here, I knew that mountain biking was not going to be something that would be easily done, because it just didn't have a robust trail system, nor did it have a culture of mountain bikers that was going to get it there. But when I started looking around and seeing all these dirt roads, I said, you know what, like that's the next thing. Like that's the trend that's coming online right now. And so the idea of creating a gravel bike destination really jumped out at me. Again, I had that background in the sports marketing world. I understood that there was a bigger picture around this category, and that it could be something that wouldn't be just a little niche. It could actually turn into possibly a $15 million a year industry for Trinidad. I mean, you look at that Unbound event in Kansas. I believe it brings in something like $7 million every year that they have it now. So they have thousands of people coming there, and now a lot more people come there throughout the year. And when you look around here, we got a lot more reasons to be here throughout the year than Emporia, Kansas, in my opinion, because we got mountains, lakes, and rivers. And so you throw all of those things together and 1,600 miles of dirt roads. And, I've been in Colorado for a long time, and up until I had gotten here, I didn't fully understand or appreciate the scope of the expansiveness and beautifulness of this region. Yep. And you throw that in on top of that category, it's not hard to see that this could be a major tourism drive throughout the year for many years to come. And now, especially with Fisher's Peak State Park coming online. And we also were able to get some support from the Colorado Tourism Office in 2019 to create a gravel cycling tourism campaign, which I can honestly say, because I did the research on it, was the first one that's ever been done. And we, over the last couple of years, were able to get some attention, some eyeballs. I do have a pretty extensive network of people, both in and outside of media. And so, in the last 4 years or so, I've probably generated over 30 media articles talking about gravel in Trinidad. So we've been trending in this direction for a little while, and we have something really cool to offer. So it's pretty exciting. And that's what the idea with the gravel field guide was, to package all that in a way to get people excited to come in and spend some time here, because I'll say it all the time. Some of the riding here could be some of the best in the world in that whole gravel.
So let me ask, because I was going to ask about the inspiration, but you handle that. So if I have the adventure guide in front of me, what's my expectation? What without having one, because it just went to print, tell me what benefit I'm going to have as maybe certainly a rider, but also as a business and the community.
Well, the biggest thing is inspiration, right? We definitely brought a creative perspective to this. The inspiration was, again, I had one here a second ago. Oh, here it is. This is a field notes book. It's a notebook. They're these notebooks that you jot down notes in. They were inspired by like the farmer seed books, the old farmer seed books, and the whole idea that you could, just have a small little book that was durable, that was able to be thumbed through very quickly. You could stick it in a jersey pocket, a bike jersey pocket, and that it would be something you could open and kind of, and again, the next layer of that is inspiration, right? Like the idea that you would see something on these pages and say to yourself, I got to go there. I got to go ride my bike there. I want to go do that. That looks awesome. And so
I can tell folks, let me just jump in. I can tell folks this. I had the pleasure of seeing it. You sent me an early copy of it and Stephen's work. And by the way, Stephen, excellent illustrator, excellent design guy. Folks should be really proud of it, but it is just stellar work. And I could see somebody actually taking that back home and showing their friends and bringing them here. So let me jump into then. So how do we get from where we currently are to becoming the gravel grinding capital of the world? What's the biggest challenges and needs?
Well, I think it's going to be, a community-wide thing. A lot of changes are going to come with this. I say it all the time. Traffic is going to be one of them. We're going to see a lot more cars with bikes on top. And one of my things that I've really been keen with this whole gravel push is the idea of keeping cars in town, because the more cars we keep in town, the less that we have out on county roads, having interactions with, folks who maybe don't want to see a ton of cars out there, and rightfully so, because we don't have any parking out there. There's no spot for somebody to just pull over on the side of the road. So the idea that, you could park your car underneath the highway there, load up your stuff and hop on your bike and get out onto a county road in a matter of minutes is huge. I think that's a really huge opportunity for us, is that we have a road system / opportunity to create a culture around gravel cycling that all starts and ends in town, which honestly, I don't think anyone's ever really designed it that way. We are seeing it in the mountain bike world. There are definitely some trail networks that feed into downtown areas, and that's actually contributed quite a bit to some of those towns having increased visitation, as well as revenue from tourism and sales tax revenue. So yeah, I think that's one. But I think one of the other areas that we're really going to have to address is, gravel is definitely big on distances, right? Some of these rides are very, very big, 75 plus, 85 plus, 100 plus. And in some ways, if I was to rate us right now, I would say we're kind of an expert destination already right off the get-go, because of the fact we're very remote and we have these huge distances that require support, like, water and food and stuff like that, because, you can only carry so much, before you run out. And so I think one of the areas of opportunity is building out the network in that, I'd say 25 to 40 mile range. And there are some ways to do that. I've actually spent some time thinking about it, and where could that happen? But I think that would be really huge, because that would open us up to more of the larger, community of cyclists who, want to ride their bike, but they're not looking to go 100 miles because that's just not what they're physically interested in doing. So that's going to be one of the areas, is that I think is, how do we, cater to, a diverse range of cyclists. I also think, our business community is going to be under stress, because there's just going to be a lot of people, and they're going to want service, and they're going to want things, and they're going to be in places, and they're going to be willing to spend the money. And I think, but we're just going to have the patience and the dedication to making sure that people have a good experience, because that's what it's all about. It's right. It's, if I go somewhere, did I have a good time or not? And, I think, a lot of times, because we live in such a fast-paced world, that when we don't see or get the things that we want, like a fast coffee or a sandwich or whatever, you're quick to Yelp, or, so I think it's going to be a question of managing expectations that both we as a community have, as well as the people that are coming in from the outside.
Well, I won't speak for, but I'll speak I'll speak with a lot of our current business owners in this region. Is they're good, they're gritty, creative, flexible. Came through 2020 in many cases just strong as can be. And I think doing something like this, to where somebody comes in the town with a group of folks, they have coffee, some pastries, some breakfast in the morning, they go ride, they have burgers, wings, and beer in the afternoon. I think that's a great thing in our area, and I think our businesses kind of will be up for that.
Well, now, and that was one of the goals with the gravel guide too, was to direct cyclists once they got here. So when you open up the guide, you have 11 routes, and you're able to pick one that suits your distance, your needs, your interests, sort of thing. But then the guidebook is also there to serve as a guide into the community as far as which businesses to go to. So we did get a really good local business level of interest and support on the guidebook. We actually sold the book out as far as ads, which is great because we didn't have a huge amount of time, and it was a situation where we just didn't know how many we were going to be able to get, but we sold them all out, and everybody was really supportive. And so I think, when we look back after this year, the notable crowd size as far as cyclists go is going to be highly, likely contributed to this guidebook. So what's going to also happen is once we get them, we're going to distribute them along the Front Range. They're going to go from Fort Collins all the way down to Santa Fe. They're going to be in some specific bike shops. They're also going to get into the hands of some avid cyclists / influencers. I did work at 2 bike shops in the past. I was at University Bicycles in Boulder, as well as Turin Bicycles in Denver. So I have a lot of network of really cool, interesting people that are going to get a hold of this book and going to help us really, promote it, because, we are the place right now. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, we have everything that everybody's wanting. And now that with this post-pandemic summer coming towards us, I think it's going to be game on.
Yeah, it is such, the illustrations in it is really clean and fresh and not cluttered at all, which I really appreciate. But the information in it, if I were coming to someplace, the information you guys packed in each one of those pages is really it's a stellar guide. So what are some of the, once we are the gravel grinding capital of the world, who do we compete with in that space right now? You had mentioned Kansas. What other places are out there?
It's still pretty new, right? So like even Emporia is still about 10 years old as far as a place that people were consciously putting together with gravel. And I think there's definitely some places that are emerging on people. So remember, cycling is also a pretty affluent sport in some capacities, and so people are traveling. There's a region in Spain, Girona. Spain is considered a gravel bike destination now. They have a lot of expats out of the UK that are spending a lot of time there / living there. A lot of American pro cyclists have moved there. There's another destination in Colombia that I've been talking to a gentleman who's working on building out down there, and he reached out to me because he had heard what was happening here in Trinidad. So I think we're running parallel to some places right now. We're not necessarily ahead or behind. We're sort of in the thick of it in terms of, this idea of a gravel bike destination, because it's still pretty new. But I think, once we become a destination, I think it's going to just, like I said, it's going to come with flexibility as a community for both the good and the bad, because, you can have such a thing as, over tourism too. We've seen a lot of that happen in the last several years. But, that's why I've been very keen on promoting this idea of small batch gravel. The idea that we can promote small groups of people going out, not these, hundreds of people out on the roads at the same time, sort of thing. And I think we're also going to have a balance with our natural world here, because we are sort of blessed to be in a very delicately sort of preserved environment. And, once we start throwing in more cars and more people, we know what comes along with that. But I think that's going to be something else that's going to, be important for us to take mind as we move to that next level, because we're going to get the pressure. We're just going to get the masses. I mean, I know that sounds scary, but, that's the reality of when you move in this sort of direction of being a destination that people want to spend time in.
Well, that's exactly right. And then again, I love the folks in Kansas. If you're from Kansas and looking at this or anytime, I love you. Okay. But if I'm in Kansas on bike and I look north, south, east, and west, and I'm in southern Colorado and I'm looking north, south, east, and west, everywhere I look is a postcard. Everywhere I look is kind of beautiful. And I won't say the same because I'm just like driving through Kansas, but Colorado and southern Colorado and the things we have, not only just the abundance of trail, but also just the quality of the diversity of some of the trail here. I think folks will really love.
Well, you know, it's interesting, right? Because right now it's easy for somebody to take a picture